events he participated in. His success earned him greater opportunities. Team Canada designed a 2-year training program for him, and he was able to acquire a racing wheelchair. Frank's goal was to compete at the 1984 Olympics for the physically disabled, which at that time were called the International Games for the Disabled, equivalent to today's Paralympics. Frank surpassed this goal. At the 1984 Ontario Provincial Games, Frank won the 60-meter sprint, the 100-meter sprint, and the 400-meter sprint. That same year, he was a gold medal winner for Canada in the 4x100-meter relay at the International Games for the Disabled, held on Long Island in New York. In 1985, he was the recipient of the Rotary Club of Toronto Special Achievement Award for International Competition for the Disabled. And he also received certificates of achievement from the Province of Ontario and the City of Peterborough. In 1986, Frank took part in the International Cerebral Palsy Games in Gitz, Belgium, where he won gold in the 4x100-meter relay, silver in the 400-meter sprint, and bronze in the 100-meter sprint. He held national and provincial records in many events for several years. Unfortunately, in 1986, Frank's racing career was cut short by a cancer diagnosis. Although he beat the disease, he was unable to compete again. In 1990, Frank was inducted into the Ontario Cerebral Palsy Sports Hall of Fame, and in 2019, into the Cobourg and District Sports Hall of Fame. Fast Frank is a gold medal Olympian and a gold, silver, and bronze Paralympic World Games medalist. He started racing in '82 and represented Canada internationally from '83 to '86. Ladies and gentlemen, our third inductee of the evening, we welcome Frank Mazza to the Peterborough District. Accompanying Frank tonight is his coach, Doug Montgomery, who is going to speak.
My name is Doug, and I have the privilege of being Frank's chauffeur, coach, friend, and wingman while he was doing his races. The Paralympics used to be called the International Games for the Physically Disabled in the 80s. There was no coverage of TV, so we have no record of Frank racing or anything. Athletes included the visually impaired, amputee, wheelchair, and cerebral palsy (CP). Frank raced in CP Class 3, which meant racers had 3 limbs affected. As was mentioned, his right arm, so he wheeled with 1 arm, and that was just amazing what he had to do. Everybody he raced against used 2 arms, but one of their upper arms was mild Hansen, Mr. Man in Motion, who come over to look at Frank's chair and he watched Frank race and couldn't believe that Frank could go that fast. All the players on the team called him Fast Frank. Rick went and watched the race, and that was not unusual, but athletes and coaches from all over the planet at the World Games and Olympics, they'd see Frank and they'd see him on the track, they'd come over and talk to him and look at his chair after, and people just couldn't believe that this man could take a one-arm chair and race so fast and stay in the ladies. Now, a few times he did blow the as well. We want to mention that we're sad to learn about the passing of your Hall's honored inductee, Elaine Hewitt. Elaine was on Team Canada with Frank, and she was a friend of ours. We used to pick Elaine up, and all the training camps for Team Canada were in Windsor, and Elaine traveled with Frank and I, became good friends with us, and traveled all over the world with us. It was a great day. There's a lot of mention here of Frank's races, but there's one particular race I want to make comment on. Frank was the fourth fastest racer on Team Canada. We were class 3, class 4, and no upper arm. We were the fastest guys. Wheelchair racers don't pass a baton, but have an exchange box in their lane. So when the first racer hits the front of the box, he's yelling and screaming. Racer 2 can go to the back of the box. And the box is 30 meters long. What's very difficult is these guys are flying. They hit the front box, they yell, partner the back, or the second one. They have to stop their wheelchair within that 30 meters and not go to the line. There's somebody there that will disqualify the team. Well, that was just so hard to win, but it was an impossible task for someone like Frank to win. So this man, Frank, became the anchor for the relay team. So he crossed the finish line, didn't matter where he went. More interesting is Frank in class 3 is up against every other country's class 4. They always put that as the fourth guy. So class 3 going up to be the world's fastest time on top. A monumental task. Mr. Doug Logan was the manager and head coach for Team Canada for several decades. He wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't. He sent a letter in support of Frank's nomination, and I want to read part of that. Quote from Doug Logan. As coach, this was perhaps the most exciting moment of my career. The 1986 World CD Championship Games, we were in battle for the overall championship. The United States and Great Britain both had larger teams than us. As coaches, we were very nervous about having Frank in the relay. He was the only CP3 racer on any of the teams. Plus, he wheeled so hard that sometimes he would go out of his lane, which would disqualify our team. We went with Frank, and he wheeled the most incredible leg of a relay imaginable. We won gold and set a new world record in the photo finish. Our team went crazy with joy and excitement. Everybody was at the finish. We didn't know it at the time, but that gold medal gave Canada the overall world championship. Frank had won individual medals, but his contribution to the relay wheel was monumental. Continue with some support here. So few CP athletes have been recognized for their contributions, and they are incredibly significant. The development of the Paralympic program and the entire opportunity for people with disabilities to be integrated and included in all walks of life was spurred by people like Frank Mazza, who changed the focus from disabilities to ability, what you can do, not what you can. To me, Fast Frank Mazza is a true Canadian sports hero. End of Frank, I want to thank you. He was so extremely competitive. I played some good sports, and he was as competitive as anybody I ever met. I agree. Fast Frank, you truly are a Canadian sports hero. We had a blast.
Thank you, Doug. And I would ask Mrs. Anna, Frank's sister, for a few words.
I just want to, can you hear me? Yeah. On behalf of Frank, I would like to thank the Peterborough Sports Hall of Fame for their committee and the individuals who bestowed this honor on him. I'd like to recognize Suzanne Ambrose Atkinson. She was the reporter, and she's here tonight. And her writing was the reason many learned about Fast Frank. Suzanne's articles became a history of his journey, and it was Suzanne who initiated the successful nomination to the Hall of Fame. And to Doug, your commitment and dedication enabled Frank to achieve his Olympic dream. That's right. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Bill Plager.